This one, Paul requested. When I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but it feels like freedom. I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. Free to live.
I wanna live.
I'm gonna get
What I'm gonna get.
'cause it's my freedom. I love how you talk. You're speaking my language. The way that you walk, you can't contain it. Is it the shoes? Jumped up kangaroo. We're overdue for a little more dancing. Now it's your time.
It's your right.
You can shine.
It's alright.
If you do, I'ma do too. Hey, when I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like freedom. I hear a song, it takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. I'm free to live.
I wanna live.
I'm gonna get
What I'm gonna get.
'cause it's my freedom. The reason we get down is to get back up. If someone's around, go on and let them look. You can't stand still. This ain't no thrill, more than cheap thrills. Feels like money, 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 money. Now it's your time.
It's your right.
It's your time.
It's alright.
If you do, I'ma do too. 'Cause when I look up at the stars, I know exactly who you are. 'Cause then I see you shine, you shine, you shine. When you move your body just like this, I don't know why, but it feels like freedom. I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. Free to live.
I wanna live.
I'm gonna get
What I'm gonna get.
'cause it's my freedom. Hey, when I move my body feel like this, I don't know why, but I feel like freedom. I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. Free to live.
I wanna live.
I'm gonna get
What I'm gonna get.
'cause it's my freedom. 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 I'm free to live.
Gotta live.
I'm gonna get
What I'm gonna get.
'cause that's my freedom. I'm free to live.
I wanna live.
I'm gonna get
What I'm gonna get.
'cause that's my
Wow. Are you feeling a little freer today? Woo, woo, I'm still getting chills from that. Thank you, music team. When it's that good, I don't have to worry about how good I am. Amen. Wow, I'm back. It's been 3 years. And I don't look a day over 70, do I? Okay, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm staying at the retreat center called La Casona Daigle and Shram. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Okay, you ready to get romping? Yeah, I am. Let's see if I'm doing the equipment right. It vibrated, yeah, so sit back and relax. I want you to enjoy yourself. And if you need to get a hold of me, My email address is alberthasselbeck@gmail.com. You can find out what I'm doing at paulhasselbeck.com. And if you didn't get enough of me, you can listen to some of my podcasts at metaphysicalromp2.com that I do with the Reverend Doctors Bill and Cher Holton. Yes, yes, yes. So let's romp. Here we go. The title of this is Freedom When, Freedom From, and Freedom To. Okay, so freedom when? Freedom when we are willing to question our unquestioned answers. Are you ready to do that today? Yes. Okay, because the deal is unanswered questions are far less dangerous than unquestioned answers. And believe me, we all are carrying answers, beliefs within us from our previous spiritual traditions, our politics, whatever. Okay, so freedom when we become troubled. Huh? Yeah, when we become troubled. What's really interesting is neuroscience is showing us that we learn the best when we are making mistakes. And most of us feel trouble when we make mistakes, right? Who's ever rehearsed or played basketball or something, and you rehearse and rehearse and rehearse? It's when you make the mistakes, something in your system marks the mistake in your brain, so overnight, there can be a correction made. Isn't that the coolest thing? Yeah. Okay. And he said, when they find, they will become troubled, and when they become troubled, they will become astonished, and they will rule over all. Wow. That's from the Gospel of Thomas. And so later in this talk, I'm going to be sharing with you what the all is. Are you interested in that? Yeah. Okay. So, freedom when you know the truth. Now, we've heard this quote from Jesus, right? You must know the truth, and truth will set you free. And by the way, I've noticed the stained glass windows have changed, right? They used to have really beautiful pictures of Jesus. However, we don't worship Jesus, do we? No. More about that. Now listen, this is really cool. Charles Fillmore added to this. Here is what he said. The truth about yourself. That's what unity is all about. The truth about yourself. Are you ready to learn a little bit about that today? Okay, so some of you may not know this. Unity ministers in general, are to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. I have a PhD in afflicting the comfortable, okay? So get ready. All right, and so you're going to learn about the truth about your divinity and the truth about Jesus. These things, when you learn them and take them in, you can use them to set yourself free, okay? Knowing the truth is distinct from knowing about the truth, said Eric Butterworth. Okay, so is God a who or a what? This is important. So when we think about God as a who, we think about the anthropomorphic God, right? The old man, gray hair, living in a place far away called heaven. And we might even think of that God as a superhuman. Have you learned about that God? Yeah, so now let's learn about a different God. Myrtle Fillmore, one of the co-founders of Unity, said, rather than holding to the view that he, God, is a personal being with parts like man, I think she winked there, I'm not sure, a being subject to change and capable of varying moods. Did the God of your childhood have varying moods? Yeah. I couldn't figure it out, right? I didn't know when I was going to get rewarded or punished. She goes on to say, God is it, neither male nor female, but principle. Charles Fillmore agreed in The Revealing Word. He said, by the term mind, we mean God, the universal principle which contains and includes all principles. And what's cool about this quote, we have 3 synonyms for God, mind, God, and principle, and you're going to learn a few more along the way. Okay, so what about principle? Not principle. However, when we talk about principle, there are synonyms for the word: faculty, divine idea, or power. Have you heard about the 12 powers? Yes? Those are 12 principles. Those are 12 divine ideas. And so, just what is principle? Well, I went to Merriam-Webster. Merriam-Webster says an underlying faculty or endowment. Well, that works because the 12 powers are 12 innate faculties inherent in you. They weren't given to you. They are innate in you. And a comprehensive and fundamental law. Now, this one was important because Charles also said God as law, principle, and action. And so they were saying God is principle, but I wondered what happened to law. It turns out the word principle has both meanings. Principle means both a faculty and a law. Okay, so then we have to say God is the universal principle which includes all principles and laws. Now, I'll give an example of a law. How many have heard of the law of mind action? Commonly known as thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. You notice that when you have a thought, it produces a similar thought and similar thought. Today, to keep up with the science, we have to say thoughts held in mind with feeling produce after their kind in my mind. And so this is interesting. You've heard about the I am, yes? So very, very simply, yet there is but one I am. It cannot be cut into parts. It is principle. Now, why is this important? Well, if you're like me, even in Unity, I was taught that I'm a spark of the divine. I'm a drop of the divine. I'm a wave of the divine. But friends, that isn't it. Because when we do that, we are cutting principle. We're cutting God into parts. And God cannot be cut into parts. Eric Butterworth said, God is spirit, present in its entirety at every point in space, all at the same time. Think about that. Did you hear that? Let me see if I can put it a little clearer. Well, first of all, we have to say God is principle, present in its entirety at every important space, all at the same time. But your human body has 37.2 trillion cells. Did you know that? No, isn't that amazing? So what that means is, at every one of your cells, the divine is there in its entirety. Does that blow your mind? We carried a limited idea of God. This God, this divinity, this principle is entirely present at the point of view. Not a part, not a piece, not a wave, not a spark. The entirety of it is right there. And a cell takes up space, doesn't it? So there's more God there, if we can say that, but God is not additive. So is God a who or a what? Yes. Well, you're half right. God is a what? God is not a being. God isn't an entity. So freedom, when we let go of a God made in our own image. Have you ever thought about that? God is made in our image, that God of our childhood. Wow, what if we let that go? Okay, so are you a who or a what? Yes. Yes. So in another book, Charles says the I am, which we just learned was principle, right, is the metaphysical name of our spiritual self as distinguished from our human self. Principle is the metaphysical name of the spiritual self. And Charles said we must know who and what we are in order to have dominion. You know what dominion is? It's like personal authority. You have within you the principle of authority. And so, we're a who and a what. And Charles defined the ego in an interesting way. A lot of spiritual traditions are all about killing off the ego, getting rid of the ego, ignoring the ego. But Charles said the ego, by reason of its divinity, so your ego is divine in some ways, it makes and remakes as it wills. Do you notice you can make and remake yourself? Have you noticed you've done that over your lifetime? We can do that because of our innate divinity. And then he says, it's like this is the good news and the bad news. In this lies the ego's greatest strength and its greatest weakness. Because we can use our divinity in good ways, bad ways, and ugly ways. Because the decision is yours. Because you have dominion. So freedom from a limited view of ourselves. If you walk out of this room, I hope you gained at least that you are releasing a limited view of you, because I don't know about you, but for most of my life, I was taught that I was less than. That's why people talk about having a spark of the divine or a drop of the divine, but we don't have all of it, is what I was taught. And there's 37.2 trillion copies of it in you. What? So we're fully human and fully divine. Let's say that. I am fully human. I am fully divine. And I love this little cartoon with Jesus where he's proving he's fully human and fully divine, walking on the water and not wanting to get in it. Mary must have had a handful, you know. Okay, so then what about Jesus Christ? Because we have a very different view of Jesus Christ in Unity. Was Jesus the only Son of God? Nope. Was he the great exception? No. That's why he was in these windows when you bought it. Because I was taught Jesus was the great exception. Well, we've learned something else, haven't we? So then what do we do with the term Christ? It's not Jesus' last name. Yes, but not what some of us has learned in Sunday school. So what is Christ? Charles Fillmore said, in every person that Christ is unfolded, it is a divine idea or principle that contains divine ideas or principles. This Christ is another synonym for the divine, friends. Christ is not a person. It is not Jesus. Christ is a degree of potential stature that dwells in every person. Within you, and you, and you is this beautiful potential. When we say we're fully human and fully divine, does anybody express the fullness of your humanity, of what's possible? No. And even though I'm fully human and fully divine, in my divinity, I don't express all of my divinity, just like I don't express all of my humanity. A standard piano has 88 keys, doesn't it? But if you hit them all at the same time, what do you get? Chaos, right? If you put a 3-year-old on there, what do you get? If you put a concert pianist on there, what do you get? But even so, none of them are using all the keys at the same time. You're not using all of your divinity at the same time. That's because in this relative physical world, everything happens very specifically. So, we can have freedom from an erroneous view of Jesus and of Christ, which, if you were like me, I used it to feel less than and apart. So remember this? Jesus said, let those who seek continue seeking until they find. When they find, they will become troubled And when they become troubled, they will be astonished, and they will rule over all. So what is this all? So there's this wonderful quote from the Bible. Jesus said, all authority hath been given unto me in heaven and on earth. If you're like me, I used to read that this man, Jesus Christ, this superhuman, had all authority over heaven and this physical planet. But the weird thing is, the disconnect is, it didn't seem that way, did it? So in unity, heaven and earth are two states of mind or two states of consciousness. One is the ideal and the other the manifestation. One is the realm of ideas or principles, the other of thought forms. That's interesting, isn't it? So all authority hath been given unto me over the realm of pure ideas and of thought forms. You see, each of you have the power, all of divine power at the point of view. And you have authority over every principle, every law, every thought, and every feeling. Yeah, wow. Doesn't seem like that. And we weren't taught that, were we? Weren't we taught that our thoughts and feelings are imposed upon us from the outside in? Instead of us realizing our thoughts and feelings come from the inside. Yes? So, freedom to claim our inherent authority. So let's try this. All authority hath been given unto me in the realm of divine ideas and principles. In fact, if you're ever reading any of the Fillmore texts, it's really useful to put them in the first person. Because that way, you personalize it, you ground it at the point of view. So Charles Fillmore also said, if we can conceive that all that principle, all of the divine, is right at hand for our use, all principles can be grasped and used by us. Have you noticed that I'm not saying God uses you? How many of you were taught that? How many have heard that you're a vessel for God, you're an instrument for God, and all of that? It's backwards. You use the divine. You're using it right now to be the you are. You're using it right now. I'm using it right now. But we've got to grasp them. You see, if we don't learn what they are, we use them unskillfully. That's why we teach about the 12 powers. That's why we teach about the laws, so we can use them skillfully. That's what the classes are all about. Divine ideas or principles are potential forces waiting to be set in motion through proper formative vehicles. The thinking, feeling faculty in us, in you, is such a vehicle. The principles are just there. The principles of electricity, where are they located? They're everywhere. But the electrician has to know about them and use them in order that we have all this magnificent. Charles said, there is but one power. We use it as we will. If we send it out in hate, it destroys. If we send it out in love, it builds. There are not two powers, but two ways of using power. In fact, there's a whole range of ways you can use the power. You decide. You have dominion. You have authority over your own consciousness. No one, no person, no thing, no event makes you think or feel anything. Isn't that a relief? Yeah. And while we just recently lost a major freedom, when we speak about freedom, we're thinking about an aspiration and an ideal. That the one place where you always have absolute 100% freedom is in your consciousness. One of my favorite writers, E.V. Ingraham, said this. Read along with me. Everyone already has all the power there is. You have all the love there is, all the wisdom there is, all the understanding there is. Every principle is right there. Principle of benevolence, and generosity are all right there in their totality. Everyone has had the power to demonstrate disease in the face of omnipresent health. You see, we speak the truth is that we're totally whole, totally perfect. We are the very expression of health, but yet, because we can use this power any way we want, we can cause disease. Poverty in the presence of inexhaustible substance. Amazing, isn't it? You decide. And no one decides for you. Wow. So we have freedom to claim our inherent authority. Your divinity wasn't given to you. You did not inherit it. You are it. And that's how we really gain true freedom. I hope as you go out today, whatever thought and feeling you have, if you don't like it, you can change it. Thank you.